of place names, we just play all Hold Steady.
Right?
that kind of would have worked, exactly. For that, we had Once Upon a Time by Roy Holdren.
Yeah, that one's a new one to me.
Yeah, that is the beauty of people sending us requests and recommendations. There are a few people I hadn't heard before, so that's awesome. And I'm going to get this out of the way. You are listening to Mostly Minnesota Music on 91.7 FM on the beautiful Macalester College campus in St. Paul, because we are thrilled to have an in-guest studio. Lucy Michelle, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so excited. I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself a little bit, because you are an artist, you are a musician, you play with Little Fevers, you do solo material. Yeah, tell us how you got into some of this and what's your jam now?
Sure.
Today.
Well, I've been playing music in the Twin Cities for, since 2007. So a long time. A while. I started out with a band, Lucy Michelle and the Velvet Lapels, which sort of feels like a lifetime ago.
It does. I went to go see plenty of time. Yeah.
Yeah. So that feels like a long time ago. And then I started a solo project during that time with John Munson and Jan Poling, and that was just under my name for my solo work. And I released Attack of the Heart, which was my first solo album back in, I think 2013. So it was like 10 years ago. And after that, my Velvet Lapel sort of half of the people moved to opposite coasts, and then what was left, we started a kind of a rock pop band called Little Fevers, which I still have to this day, which we still play quite a bit. And then I just released a new solo album entitled Womanly this past July with John Munson, and then also with Dylan Hicks and Richard Medic and Chris Koza. So yeah.
Yeah, you have an amazing array of artists on that, because not only that, you've got Eric Koskinen stepping in for a song, and so that's got to be so much fun.
Yes.
How did the album come together? I think I read that some of it was even pre-COVID, some of it was COVID, so it was hot.
Yeah, it came, it was like a labor of love and a long process, because, some of those songs, like The Living, which is the single off of it, and then Something's on Your Mind, which is a Karen Dalton song, not my own song. Those songs we recorded, I want to say like 7 or 8 years ago, when we started working on the solo album. And then, kind of slowly but surely, I added more songs, and I think we recorded them, I want to say, in 2019, pre-COVID. And, I really wanted to release the record, but John was like, I think we need to put the brakes on this and see how whatever this situation pans out, because it doesn't make sense to release a record that you can't play a show with, So we kind of put the brakes on it, but it was nice because it allowed me to sort of take a step back and then add a few things that I think it needed sort of during that time. And, some of that was me going to John's house and recording on his deck while he was like in his living room.
That's awesome.
And we like put all the wires through the back windows, and, it was COVID. And then the second time we recorded, it was right after I had my baby, and so I just brought her along, and so some of the songs you might be able to hear like like in the background.
Those are the warmest songs.
Yes, exactly. So yeah. So that one took a long time. And it was also, making an album is really expensive, and so if you're not playing a ton of shows, you're not having that income come in to be able to make the record. And so that was the other reason why it took a while, because I had to like build up the funds to mix it and to master it, and then to get it pressed, and not pressed, but made into a CD and all these things. So yeah, it's not cheap.
No.
If you're doing it yourself.
No,
Well, you do everything yourself too, and I know, or I read you even do your album art too. I'm just like, oh my goodness.
Well, it's a cost-effective way to put it out in a way.
True, but it's just another thing that you have on your plate too.
Yeah.
But you are like multi-talented.
And I'll just tangent there, because you just did art for Cadenza on Snelling Avenue,
Yeah,
didn't you?
yeah.
I walk by there all the time, and then I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, she did the art. That's amazing."
Yeah.
How did tell us a little bit about the art, and then how the art and the music do those worlds overlap?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think in general, the artist worlds always are sort of intertwined in a way. But I went to school for graphic design, and I really wanted to be an illustrator, and so that was kind of my main goal when I graduated. And then I've kind of been doing a lot of, all my work has been sort of freelance music and art and all these things, and so I've sort of patched together this, a career in some way. But yeah, I mean, I think it is super intertwined. Like, well, with Cadenza, what's interesting, it's like to be sort of part of this little sort of music. It's like music, but it's also, I get to sort of uplift their brand and their look, and then with my own kind of style, and they've sort of trusted me with that. So I've been doing all of their design for the last 3 months and stuff.
And I'm just gonna Cadenza music.
Yes,
because
Cadenza
I
music,
should have said Cadenza music, but yeah.
Yes, yeah. But Chan Poling wrote a book, and I illustrated it, and that got put out in 2019 by the U of M Press. And so, what's cool is that sort of our musical, literary, and then also art worlds kind of all collided into one with that book. And then he wrote another one, which will come out in August of next year, that I illustrated as well. So I've been doing lots of that. It's just sort of piecing together my art world in a way.
Well, what I think is so interesting about that is you must, I won't say it that way. Do you think sometimes in pictures? Do you think sometimes in sounds?
I think I have a really strong relationship with color, and I think for me, with music, I feel like, with album covers and with images that go along with music, I don't know, I think the two are very powerful together. And so, yeah, I mean, when I'm making art, I'm listening to music. I'm thinking about images for sure. Yeah, I don't know, yeah.
Do you listen to your own music? Do you listen to, what do you listen to?
Yeah, oh my gosh. Well, I rarely listen to my own music unless I'm working on something, But, yeah, I'm on a big Thief kick. I've been on that kick for a long time.
Yeah.
But I also love like old classic soul and 70s disco and stuff. So I mean, it's kind of a broad range. I'm like Cutworms is kind of a recent band that I really like, and Kevin Morby, and it's just kind of a broad sort of indie range, along with sort of like old classics and stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm always listening to tunes.
I was going to say, what for the image for womanly, I like the pantsuit. Thank you.
Yeah.
And the 70s kind of orange coloring. Why did you choose this image, or how did it come to you?
Well, that specific image was actually from a photograph that my uncle took of me at my son's birthday party. And he had this piñata that we were like, what is that animal? We couldn't figure it out. We were like, it's just kind of a general woodland creature. And the kids, pulverized it, but what was left was the head of it. And so I just stuck it on my head, and my uncle took that picture. And I loved it. It was like kind of goofy, And so part of it is this album feels kind of serious to me, but I kind of wanted it to come off as like, it's not, it just is what it is. And I also can be light and funny and fun, and it's sort of like womanly feels like it's sort of all encompassing for like, we all experience all of these emotions and hard things and all this stuff, but then it's also, there's a levity to it, there's a lightness, and I wanted that to be part of it too. Image wise.
Well, and I love the album, and I love so many, the American Mom. There are so many songs that there are things that people will relate to in it. But do you feel differently about the songs that you wrote years ago and recorded years ago than the ones that you do now? Does it feel like an arc when you put them together?
from Attack of the Heart versus the
Yeah.
new one. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, no, sorry. And I just mean the collection of songs that you have on this album.
Oh, sure.
Because they're a snapshot of long time.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think what was interesting is that when re-listening back to this, when we were kind of during the pandemic, when we were working through it, it felt a ton of it still felt relevant to my life in the current time, and even more so, like with songs with Little Boy in Green. I mean, it was like a time when the news was all just terrible, and when you have kids, you're kind of just like you want good things for them, and you just think about all this stuff that's happening, and it felt that song in particular felt very relevant today, and as over the past few years as well. So it didn't feel like old news to me. I think when I was re-listening to it, it felt like, okay, this feels contemporary to now as well.
Well, it absolutely does. It absolutely does. But I just think of things that I wrote at. It's not that it's not contemporary, but it's like, oh, that was me at a different time.
Oh yeah, sure.
Like, how
yeah.
am I different
right.
than I was then?
Yeah.
And
I think that it's a good point to make. I think because I'm so intertwined with where my kids are at this moment, and they're at this certain age, and I have 3 of them, so you sort of re-experience all the things 3 times over, and so it did feel like I, one of the songs I think it is primarily when I wrote it, I had my oldest son in mind, but then when I listen to it now, it's like applies also to my middle son too. So, I think for sure there are moments where I'm like, oh, this emotion was very much at that time, but I certainly feel it again, like those sort of things, right?
Well, and and we talked a little bit before. I have 3 kids as well. I have 3 daughters.
Yeah.
I'm much further along that path,
right,
than you are. The youngest one is 19, and your oldest one is 9.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But some of it is a little bit. Some of it feels Groundhog Day some days.
Yes.
Yeah. But then you do look back, and I think that because you're watching them through stages, you feel the stages more yourself.
Right.
Maybe even looking back at it, right? Because you don't have the time to think about it during the height of those years of.
Oh yeah.
Of no sleep, of a lot of cleaning up, of sure we'll go to the playground.
Right.
Mama's gonna hide under the slide.
She just needs a moment to herself.
We're hide and seek, guys. I'll be first. Some of those moments,
right?
But it does, because you can think of your kids going through the stages. You're like, oh yeah, that is what I was going through at that.
Right.
You don't know what was on the radio or TV.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Could we ask you to play a song?
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yes. I'm actually going to play Little Boy in Green. Felt fitting. Hopefully my guitar is in tune. Strive to be kind, strive to be good, and be your little mama, like I know I should. Used to only be in my body, came into this world and I could see what it truly meant to be here in this place with your beautiful face, beautiful boy. Haven't been sleeping much these days, thinking of the people who've all gone away. Need something to believe, something to get us through. All I hear is bad news, all I want is good for you. Used to only be in my body, came into this world and I could see what it truly meant to be here in this place with your beautiful everything. Your heart a little flame. Loving you is easy. My little boy in green. My little boy in green. My little boy in green.
Oh my goodness, goodness, goodness.
That's Lucy Michelle in studio. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, listening to the album, I love that I can hear, since we are so in depth in all the Minnesota musicians, I can hear Eric's guitar, Dylan on the piano. Like, I hear it and I'm like patting myself on the back. I'm like, oh my God. It's so cool that you get to enmesh all your creative, beautiful relationships that you have, and it gets to like be this piece that you get to, all of you get to have forever. How the hell does that feel for a person? You know what I mean? I'm like, so cool.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's what's so amazing about recording is it captures those moments, and all of their talents and their skills and like just their thoughtfulness to the music itself. You know, I mean, I feel like everybody that I worked with on this album was just so, they were in it and they were so thoughtful and they just like brought everything to the table and they were like, all right, well, how do we make this the best record we can make it? And Richard Medic spent countless hours engineering it as well and playing drums, and he did such a good job. And Koza, you know, who lives in both Colorado and Minnesota, you know, like took the time to play his parts and come, and then he also recorded some of them from afar, and you know, so it was just so, I feel so lucky to have so many amazing musicians play with me. And like I was a little nervous to ask Eric to play on Years From Now, but Richard, who plays drums in his band, was like, I'll talk to him about it and see if he'd do it. I've worked with Eric before because we used to record all these like children's songs that he produced for this Cantata Learning Company, these little like kids books.
Oh, cool.
So he would write all the music he would produce all the music, and then he'd hire me to do the vocals for him. So I've worked with Eric in that capacity, but I've never had him come in and sing on one of my songs, you know. And so I thought of him immediately when I had written the song, and I was like, oh, I think this would be such a fun duet with Eric. And he just, of course, came in, did his thing, played his guitar, and killed it, you know. Like, and I don't think it took very long, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just feel really lucky to have so many amazing musicians that play with me.
Well, and I'm purposefully doing this today for a reason, but did I see you played with, we were on the upcoming album from Toussaint Morrison.
Oh, the favorite game.
I did the chorus vocals, I think, on that. I recorded that a while ago, so I kind of like, it sort of escaped my mind. But, yeah.
We're like dusted off.
Yeah, but that was really fun. And I run into him, I swear, everywhere. I see him everywhere.
Well, and one of the reasons I bring it up today is he's got the album release coming out tonight.
Oh, cool.
At the Green Room, I think at 9 o'clock. He goes on at 10:30. So
awesome.
but yeah. What is the difference when kind of it's your album and you have someone like Eric come in and you have great appreciation for those people, as opposed to when you go on to somebody else's? I mean, what are the pros and cons? It's a little different, but
well, I think with, you know, I like it both ways. You know, I love if people are like, oh, I really like your voice. I want you to sing on this because I think it would add this nice texture. You know, which is really fun. And I kind of just let them tell me what to do, which I'm like, great, tell me how you want this, tell me what you want me to do. I just come in, do my thing, and then I'm out, you know. So, and it's nice because, you know, now I'm sort of part of this, but I didn't have to do this sort of producing aspect of it, you know. My job was done. Yeah. And then, you know, as opposed to with my album, I can be like, okay, this is what I want this to sound like, and having sort of control over it in that way feels very liberating too, you know. And so I like it both ways for sure, and I love singing with other people, so whenever I get the opportunity, it's a blast both ways. So yeah,
I can't imagine somebody, when you're excited that Eric will say yes, I feel like that would be equally receive for somebody if you say yes, because I'm telling you, your vocals are just every emotion, all the goosebumps are on high end. Whenever I
Aw.
hear you sing, I'm just like it. Yeah, you
Thank
pull
you.
something out, and it's so like effortless.
Oh.
I don't know. There's some. You have a very unique sound, and it's gorgeous.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it.
Well, and I think it gives it gives a voice. I mean, I'm trying to stumble without saying it gives voice to an album like Womanly, because that seems like but it does. I mean, that the textures in your voice speak to the different roles
Oh
that
yeah.
people play as being a woman or being womanly or
Yeah,
a woman identifying. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I don't know, when you write songs, I think it's very, when I write songs, and then the ability to sing it, I think captures that emotion, the things that you were trying to say in a way that, when you're just reading something or doesn't necessarily have the same effect. The ability to then create a song with the words that you've written, I think adds another layer to it. And then, just a different approach, I think. And so, I love to sing. It didn't come when I was in high school. I was actually a tenor sax player, and I really wanted to sing as well. I remember like watching all these, we had like a jazz singing program at my high school, and I remember I was like, oh, I really want to be a part of that. But, I was kind of dedicated to the saxophone, and then when I went to college, I couldn't practice my saxophone in the dorm rooms because it was like so loud.
Your roommate was like, she's
Oh
out.
my
She's
god!
out.
Everyone would complain. It was terrible. And so my grandfather sent me a ukulele because he was like, I think this will be quiet enough for you to play. And so when he sent that to me, I just started kind of playing songs, like covers that I liked. I was like playing a lot of Cat Power and Bob Dylan covers on ukulele. And then I was, kind of started singing. And then with MySpace was still a thing, I created like a MySpace page, and a friend, like a good friend of mine now at the time, Jesse Schuster, who played with Caroline Smith, a friend of his, Arlen, who also played with him, played drums, and he contacted me through MySpace, and he was like, oh, I want to play some music with you. And then we kind of just and that's kind of how I started making music with other people, and then sort of steamrolled into the Velvet Lapels as I kind of added got all my best friends together, and we were like, let's start a band. And then here I am today. So
That's amazing.
yeah.
Do you ever play the sax now?
I just played it at Jeremy Messersmith's Halloween show at the Parkway, which was nerve-wracking because I hadn't really played it in a while, and then I was like, yeah, I could totally play this. Then I practiced for a few weeks, and then I got on stage and I was like, this is not, I can do it, but I don't have the same gumption or the same abilities as I did 10 years ago when I was like braver on the saxophone because I've been playing a lot more. But I was glad I did it.
Sometimes maybe it's a reserved bravery.
Yeah.
And with 10 years comes a little wisdom and maybe a little more gravitas in some other ways. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, and Jeremy's pretty playful too, so he'd roll with anything, I think.
Oh yeah, it was a blast. It was super fun, and it was very brief. So I sang 2 songs, and then I just played a little sax in between, as sort of like and also I play saxophone kind of situation.
Don't vote for Miss America yet.
Yeah.
Let me show you another talent.
Right.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Just go from Miss America to the American Mom song. That touches me in a way because I had one of my kids would always ask kind of what happens after you die, and she still kind of worries about it.
Yeah.
20 years later.
Yeah.
But I find that to be such a touching song.
Oh yeah.
It's such a snapshot, and whether you're a mom or you're someone who takes care of a lot of kids, how do you deal with that sort of thing? And do you
Yeah, well, when that song came from, when my son was playing at the park one day, and he just walked up to me and he was like, Mom, am I gonna die someday? You know, or like, and you know, as a parent, you have to be honest with
Yeah.
your kid and say, well, yes, you know, someday we're all gonna die, but you know, you're a healthy kid, you're gonna live a long life, do amazing things, and thinking about it doesn't, you know, it doesn't help a whole lot, you know, but it's a hard concept for kids to wrap their minds around, and it reminded of me when I had that same experience too, you know, we all have that experience of sort of knowing that, but, you know, like our family dog passed away, and our daughter, who's, you know, not quite 3, keeps asking where Jolie went. And, you know, so it's like a concept that's really hard to grasp until you're at an age where you sort of realize it on your own. You know, no one can tell you, right?
That's a really good point. You have to realize it on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows where they get it from? Because, you know, you're watching Cinderella and all of a sudden, you know, or whatever, you know, you're out, you know, picking up stones and what?
Yeah. And
what was going through your head?
Yeah, yeah. And it is kind of, I mean, it's kind of amazing to sort of, to watch that from, you know, my vantage point, or from a parent's vantage point, or from any adult who's sort of, who's, you know, watching a kid sort of put the 2 and 2 together, and to recognize that and suddenly be like, okay, all right, now here we are, and we're going to talk about it. And just, I think that's kind of the biggest thing, is just to have an open conversation and let them talk to you about how they feel about it, or questions and all those things. But it's a huge subject to touch on for a kid, and a huge thing to think about, I think. And so as a parent, you know, it's really important to just be there with them and reflect on it. And so for me, when I wrote this song, it just felt like we all experience this, you know. So it's just how you deal with it.
And you never, exactly. And I think and the song's very kind of open-ended.
Yeah.
Where it's, you know, don't worry about it. What the nice thing about it is, and I can remember thinking it too. And when you hear this, you're comforted by being reminded, oh yeah, it doesn't, you know, don't
dwell.
Don't dwell. Don't invite bad thoughts.
Right.
You know, I mean, not that they have to be. Oh my gosh, I was just listening to a musician who's 80-something, and he's writing songs about death that make him feel comforted by that.
Interesting. Wow.
One was like this slow road down, or something like that. I was like, wow, that's very. I'm not there yet.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm glad he is. But yeah, and so to have the music address some of these topics that come up, I think is amazing.
Oh yeah, well thank you.
Yeah.
It feels very much a part of sort of my life right now, and I've had so many parents and people come up to me and be like, oh, this feels really like present for me, you know, which I love to hear, because I think we're all, I don't know, we're all kind of in this together, and it's how do we recognize that we're kind of experiencing very similar things, and then, you know, how can we come together to make understanding of it, I think.
And I think we had a really weird glimpse of that during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
When you'd see what people were doing online, and that you'd be like, oh, like everybody's making sour bread, or everybody's doing, you know, and some of it is just trend. I mean, I don't want to say trendy in a demeaning way, but you know, some of it is like, contemplating this, that, and the other, and go, oh yeah, we're a lot alike.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I kind of love knowing that and experiencing that and sort of seeing it happen, and also getting that sort of the sort of feedback from people who have listened to it, to know that we're kind of on the same page in that way, which is comforting for sure.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, music does offer an outlet for all of our emotions, I guess.
Yeah.
And especially during that time, or with children, with losing somebody, with celebrating. There's no better thing that we get to share. Yeah.
Well, and that's where I think your album touches on so many parts of that. You know, the be kind.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yeah.
I'm like, and there are 100 ways to say it.
Yeah.
With kindness. Being kind is free. Just be kind. Just you don't have to go over the top, but you can't. You know,
right?
Those things that you teach kids, especially because sometimes you're like, well, if they're mean to you every day, avoid them, but be kind. Just I mean, these are the things that we say.
Right.
These are the things sometimes Heather says to me.
Yeah.
Just walk away, be kind.
Yeah.
You know, and again, it's so funny because the lessons that we talk about with kids are the lessons we can now use a little booster shot of.
Reminder.
Right. Yeah.
To keep it in our heads.
Yeah.
We ask you to play another song, please.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I wanted to play a song actually from my first solo album, Attack of the Heart. I thought this would be kind of fun to play as well. This one is called Heart Race. Could this heart race to the end of the line? Could you love me? Could you love me? Way you do all the time. So hard to win. Take me home to the place that I know. Just a little further down the road, I'm sure my heart will go. Oh. Could this world spin any faster than it does? Just get older. Every day it's just a way. So hard to win. Take me home to the place that I know. Just a little further down the road, and I'm sure my heart will go. Oh. Took it hard. Felt it all the way to my toes. Ask something of me. Oh, please ask something of me. I don't know how to know it. I don't know how to know it. I don't know how to know it. I don't know how. Could this heart race? Could this heart race? Could this heart race? Could this heart race?
You're listening to Lucy Michelle on Mostly Minnesota Music on WMCN 91.7 FM in St. Paul. It's lovely.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's so lovely. Are your kids musical? Do you play music with the kids? Do they love listening to you? Or are they like, no, get your hands off that guitar. I'm here. What are you doing?
You know, it really depends. It's not, my son Otis is just starting violin, which I think he's enjoying. While all of us are like,
is it Suzuki? Because I had one who did Suzuki for a while.
well, it's not. It's through his school, and then
Nice.
he does lessons at
Nice.
Cadenza. But then, our middle one, he loves the drums, and I'm sure he'll be a drummer, I'm sure. And Olive is like, she loves to dance and sing, and she loves going to our shows, and they all really like going to the shows. But I think, there are times when I'm like, when I think they're doing their own thing, and then I'll pick up a guitar, and then they'll come over and be like, why aren't you playing with me? Why are you playing? Put the guitar away. I'm like, I just want a moment. So, it every moment changes.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always worked from home. And like, are you always on that computer? Yeah, I am. What's it to you? How's that food tasting?
Right? I'm making it work.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. I tell you what, you can watch whatever you want. The
Yeah.
Barbie channel is yours for 10 minutes. Yeah.
Right?
It is hard. It's hard to balance. Although, I mean, obviously you get inspiration from it too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I think what's interesting about the first record is that it was pre-kids, and so I sort of didn't realize how much time I truly had to work on things. I mean, it was like you have no idea.
Yeah.
And then this one, that was part of the reason why it also took so long, because I just didn't have the time. I didn't have the time I could dedicate to it. But I was able to really utilize the time I did have, I think, and I figured out how to do that. And I think everyone sort of figures out how to do that. And for me, a lot of times it was like waking up in the morning before everyone else did to work on things, because staying up late was impossible for me.
Yeah. And I see live music probably 6 or 7 nights a week, so I'm very much a night owl. But when my kids were little, I was up, you won't believe this, I was up at 6 a.m. I'd go to the Y, I'd have some time to myself.
Yeah.
Try to get them off to school, and after a certain point, but having that time to yourself, I think you do get more efficient.
Yes. And you have to make the time. Whereas before, it's like an endless, I don't know, bucket of time. Which I can't even fathom.
You're at the
now.
best buffet in the world, and you can sit for as long as you want. Appreciate it while you've got it.
Right?
But it's hard to appreciate that when you don't know the opposite.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. I think. And, I think now that I am aware of it, I find I squeeze every ounce of time out of when I can, to work on art or to work on music is kind of what all I do when I'm not with my kids, and even then, occasionally, if they are entertained with something else, I will try to, do some music or write something really quick, or if I have an idea, I can kind of quickly write it down. And, I think it's almost like I have more to work for. The ability to sort of find that time offers me okay, I have this surge of creativity. It's almost like I want to make more now that it's harder for me to find the time. I think I don't know what it is.
Well, the inspiration is coming to you when you're doing something else,
right? Yeah.
Otherwise, I think I'm not musical at all, but I think when you're a kid, you're like, maybe something, maybe not, but now you're like, all these things are coming to me.
Right. And it feels purposeful, I think. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I wanted to ask, too, about your video for The Living.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what? I'm just tell me, are you a big part of that, or you just follow along for somebody singing, or did you have this envisioned in your head, and I want to know?
Well, so my best friend Ashley is, she's a photographer, a videographer, and she also played accordion in Velvet Palace. She moved to New York, and but every time she'd come back into town, I'd be like, "Can we do this project together?" And during the pandemic time, her and her husband drove from New York. They parked their little Scamp in our back alley, and I was like, "Can we make this video? Do you think we can make this happen?" And I was kind of like, we can do whatever you want.
Oh.
And so she was like, okay, I got this crazy idea that I want your face to be a green screen. And so my sister, and the other thing was I was pregnant at the time, and I didn't want to be pregnant in the video. I was like, I'm sick of being pregnant. I feel like I've been pregnant for 9 years. So, and so I was like, how can we just do it my face? I mean, this seems crazy. And she was like, all right, yeah, we can just do your face. So my sister painted my face green, and then she set up a little green screen outside of our house because we were doing everything outside because of the pandemic stuff. And what she did was we slowed down the song, and I sang to that speed, and then she, we sped it up. We sped the song. I sang to the faster speed, and then she slowed it down to the original version. So when it's when my hair is blowing or things like that, it looks really epic because everything got kind of slowed down to that speed of the original song. And she just she's like an editing wizard, and she put it together, and it was just, we were all like, whoa, cool. I've never seen anything like it. And it was really fun to make. And it was like at a time when, you know, we were all sort of secluded and lonely and we couldn't do anything or see anybody. And so to be able to like make art with my dear friend and to have them come and stay in our yard, and we had bonfires for like a couple nights and would order pizza and have it outside, you know, I mean, it was like, oh, you know, I felt like returned to my, you know, original form in a way, you know, like, so yeah, it was a really, really good time.
It is such a retro futuristic feel to it.
Yeah.
You know, it's sort of silent movie looking. It's sort of future. It's very, very cool.
Yeah. I'll tell her you said something.
Yeah, very vivid.
Yeah. Yes. Sometimes at the St. Anthony Dam, they do murals, like video murals on the walls there. So and it reminded me very much of that. They often are very, very native inspired.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this looks a little bit like, it's kind of, and just in that silent movie, I don't care what silent movie I'm watching, there's always something kind of scary and sinister about it, because it's black and white and we're not used to that, you know.
Right,
So there's just that hint of maybe sinister, you know.
Yeah.
So it's
like dramatic, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's probably it.
Yeah.
It's,
well, I should like to hear that.
well, and the song is amazing too. So tell us a little bit about the inspiration for the song.
Yeah. You know, I wrote that song a while ago. And when I initially wrote it, I brought it to John and Chan, and it was kind of fun because they have a really good way of sort of taking a song like they did with Beat Like Mine, which was the single on Attack of the Heart, where they kind of like, it has all these pieces, but then they kind of cut it apart and then put it back together, and found all the best parts and sort of took out the ones that maybe didn't work as well. And that's kind of what they did with The Living. And so having an ability to have like a producer to really like dive in there and work on that one with me felt like it pushed that song to the next level, which is what they did with Beat Like Mine. But that song in particular too, I think I wrote at a time when we had our first kid, and you know, you're sort of learning on how to be a parent, but then also how to be married and have a, you know, do all the
be
things
a person,
be yourself. And there's so many things. It was also sort of a tumultuous time because we lost a close friend, and you know, sort of it really, that song in particular encompassed that moment very much for me, I think, at the time. And so yeah, that was sort of
it's very emotional. I mean, it's kind of the circle of life, kind of, you know, the good, the bad, yeah.
I mean, I think that I was sort of stuck in this sort of loop of thinking about those things all the time, because I think when you have a baby, there's something about birth that makes you think of death. It's like they feel intertwined. You know, it's a beginning and an end in a way.
Yes.
And so I think I with that song, it's sort of like me sort of trying to piece together what that is, and how can I find connections in that, and then, you know, but also all of these other emotions and feelings that I'm experiencing at the same time too. You know, it was like, and so for me, music has always been therapy, because I will write things down and I'll be like, oh, that is how I feel. But I won't know it until I'm writing it down, you know. It's like I don't think about it in that way. So, yeah.
Well, and I think when you have a baby, there's a death of the self that it may be temporary. It's in a different way.
Yeah.
But life is not going to be the same.
No.
And you don't really realize that until, you know, you're in the meeting and you've got a 2-month-old on your lap and crying. You're like, yeah, I'll be back. Right? You know, you think you can kind of power through. You think you can. And
oh, yeah.
No. You've had 6 hours of sleep in 3 days.
Yes. And you're honestly, like, it felt like there were times I was like, I'm saving this baby's life every day. Like, where he would, like, fall and hit his head, or I'd catch him right before he did something crazy, or I'd pull something out of his mouth that he's about to choke on. You know, it's like there's so much. And there's so much responsibility that you're, like, sometimes at night I'd be like, oh my God. There's another person I'm responsible for in so many ways, you know. And so I was sort of like, I think that music really helped me sort of tame the fear of that responsibility, because then I could kind of let it out in that way. And I was like, okay, all right. Now I feel pretty good that I sort of understood what this is, and that other people feel that as well, you know. So, yeah.
You can't sustain it,
No.
as anyone with 2 children knows.
No.
I think babies can have gum. Yeah, just give it to her. Just see if that works out for you.
Yeah.
Oh
I
my
think she would
goodness.
like a blueberry.
Yeah.
All right, I'm looking a little bit at the time we've got with you. We'd like to play one more song.
Yeah. Do you want to play? Should we play one from the album?
Do you want Easter's Best? Is
We
that
could-
what you said?
We could do
or
that,
what?
or we could do American Mom if we
Oh,
want. If we
sure.
want to play that one.
Sure.
American Mom, Lucy Michelle. We're still recording there, but the radio land will only hear this, but I like to remind people. In case you were just going to drop a whole bunch of F-bombs.
Right, yeah.
No, you could. Now's the time. Now is the time to do it if you're going to.
Yeah. Just a string of slurs.
Yeah.
Yeah. For no apparent reason.
Yeah, someone comes in at 2, so we kind of have to have a definite. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Amazing.
you.
Yeah.
Do you have any shows coming up that you want us to? I couldn't find any.
I don't have any.
Okay.
Besides, I'm playing with the new standards, but I don't know if that's.
Oh, go ahead.
Say
You're
that?
not here.
Yes.
Privy to,
I just.
you know,
Fair. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not totally.
Oh,
different.
okay.
Because sometimes it's like and guests, but
Yes,
they don't
yes.
mention who they are.
Okay.
But I don't have any
Okay.
other shows coming
No,
up.
I want to make sure that
Yeah.
we'll just ask how people can find you. And
Yeah.
follow you and
Yes.
all that good stuff.
Yeah, but Little Fevers is working on a new album currently.
Nice.
I went to the show you guys had at the Hook and Ladder, and you with all the jumpsuits, and I love that you're like,
yeah.
my son told us to wear, or what, I can't remember if he told you to wear it or was inspired by it. And it's just like, I love how, and even when I've seen your husband out there, like, your family is just like adorable and just like so supportive, and
Yeah.
it's great to see. But I love, the sweetness of my 9-year-old told me I look cool. Or whatever.
They also had like little white jumpsuits.
Yeah.
They got to.
Okay. I knew it was something with the jumpsuits or whatever, but it was so fun. I love that music too.
Oh, thank you.
But, yeah, it was a fun show.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
I remember
You
taking
know
my
when-
daughter to see Coma Conservatory.
Oh
That
yeah.
was a hot minute ago.
Was it a solo? It must have been a solo one,
I
right?
think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it was maybe in the winter in
Yes, but it was
Oh.
frigidly cold.
frigidly cold.
Yeah. I remember playing that, and I don't.
My youngest is a caboose kid. The
Oh,
sisters
yeah.
are a year apart.
Okay.
And then she's 5 or 6 years younger, so she is Robert Eric Costin introduced himself to her, and she's like, I know who you are. We used to go to Real Phonic Radio. Anything where you could bring a kid.
Oh, yeah.
She would come.
Sure.
She's
That's so fun.
Yeah.
Well.
But
She's
she
lucky.
enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet she did.
She was funny because she liked gay witch abortion. 4 on the floor too loud.
What? We have like 10 seconds. Perfect.
Perfect. Lucy Michelle with American Mom in studio now. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, tell folks where they can find you and follow you and
Yeah, you can find me on Bandcamp under Lucy Michelle, and then also through my band Little Fevers. We have a Little Fevers website, and we're on Spotify and YouTube and Apple Music and all those things. So.
well, and do you want to give us a 2-minute update on Little Fevers?
Oh, sure, yeah,
that'd be great.
Little Fevers is working on a new album right now. And we're working with Tim Evanson from Pleasure Horse. He's got a little studio basement that we've been recording in, and we're about 5 songs in, so it's coming along. Hopefully we'll have something ready for everybody by springtime, summer. We'll see. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
In 2024, anyways.
Yes, in 2024.
We'll hold out
I do
hope for
imagine.
that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for
Yeah.
having me.
Then we'll go